Hello and welcome to another edition of Strive Defense Dialogue. Today we intend to take up maritime security of India in India's security matrix and preparations for that niche for which India is making. Normally, when we talk of national security, we talk of land-based threats from west and north of the country. We need to realize that India is jetting out into the sea for more than 7,000 kilometers. We have an ocean named after India, which is one of the busiest thoroughfare for the sea-based trade traffic. Our long coastline and our islands, Lakshadweep and Minicoy in west and Andaman and Nicobar Islands in east, facilitated an exclusive economic zone which is huge and rich in natural resources. Our geography has helped India to dominate Indian Ocean region, and our area of interest is from line in west Bab al Mandab to the east coast of Africa, and in east it is from Malacca, Sunda, and Lombok line. There is no doubt that China is keen to have her way in the Indian Ocean region to safeguard her trade interests, as a substantial portion of her trade passes through these safe lanes. Also, China is quite conscious of the domination of India in Indian Ocean region and knows fully well that any hostile act in north along line of actual control by her will invite a retaliation from Indian Navy. Therefore, it is important that we fully comprehend the relevance and importance of Indian Ocean region and need for India to dominate it. Some of the questions which come to my mind are relevance and importance of maritime interest of India in Indian Ocean region. What are the challenges for India in Indian Ocean region? What shall be therefore strategy for India for her maritime security? Is Indian Navy prepared to take these challenges, and how induction of INS Arighat, a submersible ship ballistic nuclear, that is SSBN, will help Indian Navy in her building her capabilities to face these challenges? Can you compare Indian capability? There's a need to compare the Indian capabilities with the navies of other countries, especially China and United States. How power balance will be impacted in Indian Ocean region with the induction of SSBN of the class of INS Arighat, and some of the plans which Indian Navy has for future. To discuss all these issues, we have with us a very competent and experienced submariner, Commander Sumit Ghosh. He has commanded INS Sindhu Rakshak. He is a prolific author, and his special interest has a special interest in underwater unmanned vehicles programs of India. By the way, he is writing a chapter on this subject in our next year book. He is also trying to build capabilities. China is building those capabilities, interestingly, and we have to be conscious of these. So all these issues will be taken by Commander Ghosh. Welcome, Commander Ghosh. Over to you for your views on the subject.
Thank you, General Chaturvedi, sir. Good evening. And I thank Strive for giving me this wonderful opportunity to reach out to our listeners and make them aware about this very important happening of commissioning of Arighat, and the topic for today, which I'm going to dwell about, the impact on maritime security by INS Arighat in the Indian Ocean region and beyond. Now, many issues which have been highlighted by General Chaturvedi sir in his introductory talk. I will also dwell upon them each. But let me first tell you that the commissioning of INS Arighat on 29 August 2024, just about 10 days ago, by Defense Minister Shri Rajnath Singh has really shaken up many of the countries and many of the strategists around the world. In fact, Defense Minister said, and I quote, "Addition of INS Arighat strengthens India's nuclear triad and overall defense capabilities," unquote. INS Arighat is actually a part of the Arihant class submarine, and the name literally translates in Sanskrit to destroyer of the enemy. It is a subsurface ship ballistic nuclear, or SSBN. I am sure there are many listeners who may not be aware of the acronyms like the SSN or the SSBNs or the SSKs. But SSBN is one of the largest submarines that you can come across in the navies of the world, and which is carrying intercontinental ballistic missiles. So we are one of those nations which are fortunate to have such asset, which adds to the power punch and our capabilities in our region to safeguard our national and international maritime security interests. Just to give you a little idea, this SSBN is 112 meters long. It is capable of doing about 44 to 45 knots underwater. It is carrying nuclear-tipped missiles, and some of them can reach between 700 to about 3,500 kilometers. Now, it's a formidable range for our country to achieve. And that's why this is very significant. And I thank Strive for giving me this opportunity to take on this subject. But because the audience is diverse here, and I would like to, tailor my talk on the subject by taking you through the important dimensions of our maritime security and maritime region. So let me cover a bit of the maritime significance of India in the Indian Ocean region, and what are the maritime security challenges which have led to the India's maritime security strategy formulation. Why has India chosen such a strategy? And then, as General Chaturvedi also said in his talk initially, that we must know the capabilities of some of the nuclear ballistic missile submarine operating countries, and how does our Arihant class or the Arighat, etc., how does that aid in or fit into the maritime security calculus? So the impact of Arihant, and this class of submarine towards the maritime security calculus will be much easier to comprehend for the listeners. Let me now come to first the India's position in the Indian Ocean region. As highlighted by the General, we are very, very geographically, very importantly located in this Indian Ocean region. He highlighted the extremities of the Indian Ocean region, but there is a very famous strategist, US strategist, Alfred Thayer Mahan, who said, "Whoever controls the Indian Ocean dominates the Asia." This was said by him in the end 60s, early 70s. And India has this ocean named after him from a long time. It is a resident power in this nation since very long. And we own 40% of the strategic waters in this region, actually. We have 2.2 million square kilometers of the exclusive economic zone. As highlighted earlier, we have 7,516 kilometers of coastline. We have 1,200 islands, some of them big to small, all included. It's a huge number. They are scattered all over us, around us. We have a coastline with around 13 major ports, 205 minor ports. We have many trade going through the slog, actually. And the sea lines of communications which are passing through the Indian Ocean region are of very, very high value for the world, because 70% volume of the trade oil trade passes through this region. And out of the entire cargo which is going through this world, 1/3 is the world's cargo. 1.5 lakh vessels are passing annually through this passing. At any given time, 12,000 ships are in the region. It's a huge task to monitor. This area conveys 2.3 two-thirds of the world's oil in the region. We have 35 countries in the region, and all of them are not so well developed. All of them are not so well positioned in this region. So we are a dominant power. We own the biggest responsibility. And India, now emerging as a very, very important global power, naturally has in its responsibilities, one of the important responsibilities to ensure that the seas, the ocean in the regions, the littorals in the IOR are safeguarded, are able to do their normal tasks easily. India's 95% trade by volume and 70% by value is going through this Indian Ocean region. So it's a very, very important area. We have Malacca Strait, the Strait of Hormuz, the Lombok and Sunda, and the Horn of Africa, the Cape of Good Hope, and these are very, very important trade routes which are passing through this area. We need to have a very, very carefully guarded eye on these regions where nothing nefarious happens. Now, this being the introduction about the India's position and the geographical importance of this Indian Ocean region, let me now just highlight what are the security challenges because of which we have to shape our maritime security strategy. What are these challenges in this region? As I said, this region is very large. But we have witnessed from a very long time to even now, we witness piracy, which is going on, a piracy of different kinds. We have drug trafficking in the region from Golden Crescent and Golden Triangle areas from the Middle East and also from the Southeast Asia. We have human trade happening under our noses. We have arms proliferation happening. Recently, a Chinese ship carrying nuclear material headed towards Pakistan was stopped in Mumbai and taken into custody, and the material was not allowed to go. So it could be arms, it could be nuclear material going to another country. So India, being a responsible nation over here, is doing all the checking. What is the risk? The risk is heavy. We have much of the illegal, unreported, unregulated fishing happening. In the garb of fishing, many other things are happening. Exploitation of the exclusive economic zone is happening without permission. We have the problem of marine pollution because marine assets get destroyed by marine pollution, and it is the responsibility of every state to ensure that such kind of pollution does not hamper the trade, the growth, the economic sustenance activities of the people in the region. We also have very good knowledge about the natural disasters which occur in this area often because of the storms or tsunamis. Many of us have seen this happening in our lifetime. Climate change is also another problem in this region. But one of the very key important area is terrorism. Terrorism, hijacking. Hijacking of ships is very well known to us. Recently, 3-4 months back, also Navy thwarted a very important hijacking which was happening on a merchant ship, which was a big oil tanker, and Navy got the Air Force into action, and together they paradropped Marine commandos and took over that ship and captured all the hijackers. They were from Somalia. So it's a very volatile region, as you can understand. In the 90s, when the terrorism grew, the navies of the region, including those from the Europe, Atlantic, and USA included, they made a task force. This task force used to continuously patrol, and I was in the Navy then, and I also participated in one of the patrol undertaken by a Gomti class of ship at that time. It is still going on. These patrols are happening between ships and the small groups, but then the area is too vast, and the inimical forces are very smart, and they are very well equipped these days to carry out such operations. So we have gray zone warfare happening in this region. We have land attack missile systems being transported, being used from such areas. You know what is happening between Israel and Hamas. You know how Iran is involved. We have countries in turmoil. We have problems in Afghanistan, Pakistan, our neighbor, Sri Lanka. We have a volatile region. Sri Lanka is in turmoil. Bangladesh has recently been in turmoil. We see it. And so we are surrounded by such countries which are unstable. So it is very important for us to have a very well-defined maritime security strategy and to work on a very important mission to provide security and safety of trade of assets in this region. So the India's maritime security strategy, a book which was first taken out, was in 2004. When it came out, it gave a very important uh, three-pronged strategy initially. And at that time, 20 years back, the Navy was not what it is today. It had fewer ships, it had fewer submarines, maybe no SSBNs and nuclear submarines. And the one which we had taken in the 89 from Russia had gone back in 91 after 3 years, the Charlie class nuclear submarine, which was just an attack submarine. It was basically for introduction of nuclear submarining to the Indian Navy at that time. And we did not have any other submarine, nuclear submarine at that time. And this book, which was released, was focusing on the maritime strategy in the region, but it was a free rider model. Now you'll ask me, what is free rider model? Free rider model was proposed by one Mr. Holmes and Yoshihara, who said that low national, international problems will be sorted by low capability navies to ensure that low-level threats are just neutralized. This was a free rider model. That means you need not have a very highly capable, potent navy to sort out low-level threats. Some of the threats which have grown over the years in potency and in lethality were not there at that time. You'll all agree with me. But so the limited national capability was related to the low-level power of the Navy at that time. So, but later on, we at the later stage, as our nuclear submarine building program continued, so we decided that we must have a developing strategy, an unfolding strategy, an important strategy which underlines new ideas and takes more responsibility. So this was the stage 2 of the maritime security strategy of the Indian Navy, somewhere around 2008, 2009, when our Arihant class was taking shape. We had
2009.
submarine.
2009.
2009. So, and this strategy was more of constabulary in nature. Constabulary means we could check, we can ensure secure seas. I'm not saying only Navy subsurface assets, the entire Navy is involved, the Coast Guard is involved, the Marine Police is involved. It's a big structure. But definitely the naval shift was taking place at that time. And we defined what is our primary area of interest, what is our secondary area of interest. The primary areas of interest, which were earlier quite narrow in the IOR, thereafter now expanded to the extremities of the IOR. And beyond Australia, beyond New Zealand, we decided that those were the secondary areas. Beyond Horn of Africa, beyond the Cape of Good Hope, and to the other side of Africa, we decided that was secondary areas. So primary areas of interest became all the slocks or the choke points, the places where their trade routes exist, coastal areas of all countries. So we took the onus of ensuring safe seas by being constabulary and started controlling the region by shifting into this kind of strategy in the later stage. The next stage came when 2015, around 5-6 years later, again, we moved to the stage 3 of our maritime security strategy. Now, this strategy literally was called the Strongman Strategy. The Strongman Strategy means you have strong naval power, a potent naval power which has all the dimensions of the naval assets, which can use the power at will, which has got the freedom to patrol the seas, prosecute contacts, take on decisions, and work in line with the conventions of the laws of the seas, the agreements with the countries, and we will seek no interference. So the Navy decided that earlier that it was allowing certain interference from those countries which were perhaps not agreeing to our way of views or the ways of operation. Now we do not allow any interference. The strongman strategy was more of a positive control, more of positive control in our primary areas. But our primary areas were still expanding. Now our main focus over here is to counter China. Because somewhere in the late 90s, China had started with its string of pearls strategy. And string of pearls strategy was to encircle India, to contain Indian naval assets by establishing military bases abroad to various places. In fact, one of the military bases is in Horn of Africa, that side, Djibouti,
Djibouti. Djibouti.
has established. So it has China was also expanding, but we realized that this kind of activity by China in the Indian Ocean region must be checked. So we started with our strategy, now more popularly known as necklace of diamonds. The necklace of diamonds strategy embraces the requirement to engage actively with various countries, engage actively with for joint operations with other navies, establish bases abroad, establish more concrete tri-service joint operation doctrine, have a theater command, and these, this SFC, which we have, Special Forces Command, and we should have a second strike capability. The strongman needed this second strike capability as a positive indicator to those countries which have inimical designs against India, and the requirement and the continuous requirement by their side to intrude in the region. We had to have a second strike capability for nuclear deterrence. This was all the part of the strategy, and stage 3 is currently building up. And so Arighat launching now has got a stronger significance, which I will come to later. But growing China influence had shifted our focus from being just a free rider to a strongman in this span of time, 10, 15 years, 20 years down the line. In fact, the world focus had shifted from Euro-Atlantic to Indo-Pacific. Now, there's a lot of talk about the activities happening in the Indo-Pacific region. And we have a number of meetings, a number of discussions, a number of activities which are happening in this region. And more countries are joining to ensure that peace remains in the Indo-Pacific region also, other than IOR. So all straits, the choke points, the straits, and the primary areas of interest have become very important for us. And this area has expanded by thousands and thousands of miles for Indian Navy. And to take the onus of the responsibility for conducting operations at this larger scale and magnitude and continuous operation, we have to have satellites, we have to have all assets in all dimensions, be it space, be it air, be it underwater, be it unmanned or manned, and be it whether they can be seen like ships and aircrafts, or whether they cannot be seen by a human eye. So we have a Mediterranean, Atlantic, and Pacific interest being shifted now more and more to the Indian Ocean region, and still Indian Navy has now chosen Mediterranean, Atlantic, and Pacific areas as their secondary or important secondary areas, and now they are our focus for the next expansion level, which will going to happen after a few years again. So we became a net security provider for the entire system of activities happening in the Indian Ocean region. So in line with this strategy, the Navy realized that we must have a very heavy modernization program. We should have aircraft carriers, we should have nuclear submarines, we should have ballistic missile submarines, we should have warships, a number of warships, currently almost 45 ships are on order, and next year we will find that as all the listeners can
66.
know.
66. The figure is 66. Out of that, 50 has already been ordered.
Yes, sir.
Ships. In next 1 year, 12 ships will be delivered. That is what
Yes, sir.
the prediction is.
Correct. So we are having a lot of activities on the naval front, and now this sums up my initial part. But I'm now coming to the SSBN part. We have submarines. There are 42 submarine operating nations in the world. Out of the or 200 odd countries, we have 42 countries which actually operate submarines. But out of those 42 nations, we have 15 which can build nuclear submarines. Only 15. And out of those 15, only 6, we are proud to be one of those 6 who can maintain, operate, construct, and deploy ballistic missile nuclear submarines.
In
This is
fact,
what I said.
I very interesting figure today I saw somewhere that
Sir.
India is 11th as far as capability wise is concerned. The qualitatively, our Arighat is 11th best in the world. And ahead of us are generally Western, except one Jin class submarines of China, which is ahead of us. Otherwise, Arighat is quite comparable to the best in the world.
Arighat incorporates latest technology also, sir, and it is modern, and it is made on our technology. Indian technology as IT sector has also helped towards making indigenous systems. So we are quite good, so that our own dependence on outside world to rectify our own systems will be very less. So I will come to
Somebody
the
has
Arighat.
asked the question that what is the difference between SSBN and SSN? If you can just allude to it also.
Okay. SSN is a nuclear submarine, but which is not equipped with ballistic missiles. It can carry cruise missiles or land attack missiles, but it does not have nuclear tipped missiles. It can carry torpedoes. It is they're generally leaner, faster, and they have a smaller crew, and they are you can say they can be deployed at a shorter
Something
notice.
like
But
Charlie class which we had. Something like Charlie class we had.
Charlie class guided missile nuclear submarine. There are various kinds of nuclear submarines also, which are not ballistic in nature. One is the normal SSN, which is like we hear the name Los Angeles class nuclear submarine, or the Russian Alpha class nuclear
Alpha.
submarine. Yes. So these are very fast. 85 kilometers per hour. Alpha class moves, the fastest submarine in the world. It does 45 knots underwater, and it is capable of diving to 1,000 meters. But ballistic missile submarines are bigger. They are more. They are more very potent because they're carrying multiple warhead capable, re-entry vehicle capable intercontinental ballistic missiles. So the essential nature of SSN and SSBN is quite different role-wise. SSN seek out the enemy and destroy, whereas SSBNs remains in their bastions, in their comfort zones, and because they are carrying very long-range missiles, like the US carries 12,000 to 15,000 kilometer range, they stay in their own home areas, and they can fire at any place in the world. So it's a very important asset, because that is the part of the third strike capability, or the nuclear triad. It is the third leg of the nuclear triad. So SSNs do not form a part of the nuclear triad, but the SSBNs do. So as I was saying that there are 42 countries and finally we narrowed down to about 6 countries which are capable of making. Now, what is the capability is very important. What is the capability? Let us say that we have the US Navy. The US Navy has got 14 SSBNs. It's got a fleet of about 74 submarines, but it's got only 14 ballistic missile nuclear SSBNs. Now, I will just cover in a very small way, and it's a very unique way, the capability of these ballistic missile submarines, because it is very important to understand the depth of maritime security. The SSBNs provide the depth of maritime security because SSBNs are stealthy. They are uh, they are strategically available to you. Once you deploy them, they can be deployed for a very, very long time. They provide the nuclear deterrence to the nation. They are capable of precision strike. They are capable of a second strike. They are used used for nations posturing. They provide you reach, and they provide survivability. We are following a doctrine of the no first use. We are having this third leg of triad. Now, as I was saying, that all these Ohio class submarines, they carry 20 missiles each with 4 multiple independently re-entry vehicles, MIRVs. So even if out of 14, 50% is deployed at any given time, at least 50%. So you are having about 7 to 8 Ohio class deployed at one time, and they are having 640 nuclear warheads at sea at any time. Right now, as we speak, America has got deployed, working, and sailing 640 nuclear missiles, which can be targeted at any country in the world. Coming to Russia, Russia has more nuclear submarines than America, about 16. But of course, the operating philosophy and the survivability of these regions, maintainability are some issues. But we are, even if we keep about 50% of them being employed or deployed at sea, we still have about 7 to 8 submarines, and they are having the 16 missile silos in one submarine. Still, if they have about 4 to 6 MIRVs per missile, they are still having about 448 to 500 nuclear missiles at sea at any given time as we speak. Now what happens? Come to China. China has 6 SSBNs. We have 2. We have 2 with Arighat, but China has 6. Out of these Jin class, as Chaturvedi sir, you highlighted, that Jin class 094 type has got JL2 and JL3 missiles, Julong 2 and Julong 3. Now, Julong 2 is 7,200 kilometers range. JL3 is 10,000 kilometer range. So Chinese submarines can stay in their waters and strike us or beyond, or even up to Alaska from their own areas. It's their requirement to reach US in sufficient numbers. If we even
That
if we
means
keep
China is more say their SSBNs are more against against US rather than IOR.
SSBNs, yes, their deployment strategy is to counter US. India is still only in the way because India and US are allied, and unless it counters India in the path to counter US, it will not achieve any aim. Now it is having these 6 submarines, 6 ballistic missile nuclear submarines, and even if we give 50% availability at any point of time, with 12 missiles per submarine, with 6 independently MIRVs available, you still have 216 Chinese missiles deployed at any given time as we speak. Come to UK or France, each have 4 ballistic missile submarines.
I think UK and France, we can for the time being leave it because our threat is more in terms of Chinese. But some of the things which I have in mind which I wanted you to allude to. You know that in Myanmar they have got a base facilities in Kupyuku, and Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh they have created facilities for nuclear. Henan, they have brought it down to south in China. Henan base was Zin class. So all these things they create say very potent threat to India. How good our position in Andaman and Nicobar, or our support system with the France and Djibouti, or Henan in Indonesia is helping us to say, thwart this kind of a Chinese threat in IOR.
Yes, as I highlighted that India has gone ahead with its necklace of diamond policy of establishing bases, giving assets to the various countries, helping them in repair, providing them ships, submarines or aircrafts, helicopters, and helping them in the bases. But this strategy has to be more actively pursued because China's reach, sir, see, he will not position his SSBNs in our region because he does not need to position them, because SSBNs operate in their bastions and they are guarded by nuclear submarines. Those bastions are guarded by nuclear submarines or even conventional class submarines to some extent if they are very close to the port. But the nuclear submarines will never leave their waters if they have long range missiles available. So we do not have to fear their SSBNs for that matter, because and we will not be able to hunt them because they will be remaining in their own areas. But here the problem is, in case SSNs come and dock and get repaired, or some other facility is loaned to them for certain landing of certain air assets or certain clandestine operations, unmanned systems which can be transported through a ship. We know that China has made a drone
You
ship.
mean midget? You mean
Yes,
midgets?
not midget. Midgets are manned submarines in which one or two men can sit and with the weapon load or mines, etc. But I'm talking about unmanned underwater vehicles or autonomous
Okay.
underwater vehicles which can be transported by a ship.
They are known to
China
have
is,
acquired. They are known to have developed capabilities for that.
yes. In fact, one of the Chinese ship, Yai Huan or some name I'm exactly not remembering, it is capable of carrying 400 such drones, and it has got a underwater opening belly. They just go inside the water. You will never come to know because they're not air launched. They'll just swim out and then they move in pair as per program, and then they can destroy the ships in the area. And nothing is lost because they are very small, and it doesn't take much of technology to make them. And they are not so expensive compared to big ships or aircraft carriers or frigates. So these are the things. Now, compared, where does our SSBN fit in? It does fit in because with Arihant and Arighat now in our calculus of maritime security, we have two SSBNs operating freely in the region. We can have both in Bay of Bengal or one in Arabian Sea and one in Bay of Bengal. They have great ranges. They are capable of either K4 missiles or 12 K15 missiles. Sagarika is having a range of 750 kilometers, whereas K4 has got a max range of 4,000 kilometers, but
Yes.
3,500 operational range.
Operation.
But we can say that even with a moving bastion of an SSBN, we are able to cover with K4, with Arighat, we are able to cover beyond Beijing also. Earlier, with only Arihant, with 750 kilometers range, the submarine had to really move around and get to the ranges. But now with Arighat, and we are having a Aridaman as follow-on, and perhaps later also
By next year,
more.
it will be commissioned.
It's coming up, yes. And another, so we are going to have a fleet of 5 SSBN to start with shortly. And this is going to give us such a huge umbrella of coverage that the entire Asian landmass will be covered. We are going to have Agni missiles variant on this, and Surya missile variant on this submarines. And these SSBNs will be very, very potent, one of the most potent in the Indian Ocean region, operating freely. So Arighat has actually added the sharpest teeth to the arsenal of Indian Armed Forces by being available as a third leg of the triad, the most potent platform, the most modern platform. It is 112 meters long. It is capable of very high 45 kilometers per hour.
One question I have, because so far the philosophy had been that we had two aircraft carriers, Vikramaditya and Vikrant, and one previous naval chief had said that we have follow-on order will be for Vikrant class only, instead of Vishal class, which is 65,000 ton. So, it appears that Indian Navy is veering more towards submarine arm rather than aircraft carrier. Would you like to comment on this kind of a thing?
In my personal opinion, sir, not because I'm a submariner, but I think the world over, the important thing to understand now with the new technologies is that anything which is seen is destroyable. You have assets, and it is very cheap assets which can destroy you. Today, drone warfare we are seeing in Ukraine war or Hamas war, and we are seeing how these cheapest assets are destroying very, very costly platforms. In the near future, we are going to have unmanned systems destroying the biggest of the aircraft carrier because it is seen. But what is unseen are the nuclear submarines, the conventional submarines, and the ballistic missile submarines.
Because of
The
their lack of
cables,
vibration and all those things. Yes.
they
Still.
are stealthy, cannot be
One
picked
more
up by
thing in this
satellites.
case, the Indian geography also, I suppose, helps quite a lot because in Andaman and Nicobar, in Campbell Bay, this INS barge which has come up, or INS Kohasa, Utkrosh at Port Blair, it has given us tremendous reach. And actually, this may be like a aircraft carrier only. So much that aircraft carrier, the air force stations of Navy, which are there deep in the sea. So that is what is, to my mind, the debate is still on. But I suppose you have got a point that nuclear, say, investing into submarine arm is far more important. No wonder about the 31 submarines say, under construction, under planning, and all those things, which I was just seeing the figure. So there are a lot of submarines are coming up, Scorpion class, and SDW class, and all those things, they are coming up. And of course, SSBNs are also coming up. So that is
Yes,
another
sir.
very interesting.
The other point which I was saying, that to have a carrier group available, you have to protect the carrier with the classical formation of ships, which are then restricted in their placement. Whereas independently, you are having a submarine, a nuclear submarine deployed, and SSBNs deployed. So while a carrier task force presents a formidable deterrence capability and is available, and we remember 71 war, wherein when the US Navy had 7th Fleet had entered the Bay of Bengal, when our forces were fighting in Bangladesh, and that time Russia had sent a few nuclear submarines, and that was signal enough for the US carrier
You have
task force
to
to.
stay
Yes,
slow.
that's how it happened. So it's a story with which we all know. I think the submarine arm is going to grow, and SSBNs is a great way forward. But we must also add to our nuclear submarine arsenal and conventional for our roles that we play, because ours is a very diverse area compared to other regions of the world, and we are the lone resident power in this region with 35 to 40 countries around us. So it's a
Actually,
very important.
Sumant, somewhere I was seeing this figure that China has got, as compared to us, we have got, about say, 19 submarines, including 2 in SSBNs. China has got 66. So out of that 66, how much can he brought against us? That will be a question, because the number alone, standalone number doesn't matter, because he has complete South China Sea, East China Sea, against Taiwan, and all those things. There are a lot of things which he has to, say, cover. So how much can he bring against us, and what kind of a preparation we need to have, that kind of a thing?
China has got older versions of the
Diesel
Song class,
submarines.
the Ming class, the Song class. The latest submarines are only some of the Kilo class and the type this AIP propelled Kilo class, which is a cause of worry, because it can function unlike a nuclear, but unlike a conventional. I mean, it can remain submerged for a much longer time because of the air independent propulsion system. But these most of the Chinese submarines are not capable of going very far because of the inherent problems. In fact, last year we heard of a Chinese submarine which sank with all hands. 52 men died. China never claimed, but the naval reports indicated that all men had died, and there was no rescue possible. It been operating very close to the Chinese waters, not very far also. So it also reflects on their rescue capabilities. Perhaps China will not be able to send out all submarines, and at any given point of time, the Zia SSBN before the Jin class, the Zia SSBN, which was full of problems at all times. Either it was a propulsion problem or it was a maintenance problem. The repair capability of the Chinese yards, etc. They may have improved in lately now, I will say, and the Jin class are fairly new, type 094, but Definitely, China out of 60, I have my doubts whether even 60% would be fully ops to take on seas and traverse long distances.
Ajay, this before the last question I have, Indian Navy is nowadays is talking of network-centric operations because the number of ships China has got now is as many as 350 ships, which is much more than even US, which has got just 293 ships. Though we are spending almost about the 6 point uh, increased budget is about 6%. But the fact of the matter remains that network centric operations is the way ahead. Can you just, in a very short, explain slightly this network centric operations, which helps Navy to achieve certain greater effectiveness?
So the network-centric operation in its initial nature in the early 90s was practiced by the Indian Navy at sea by developing a software called Trigun. Trigun used to maintain database of all the ships at any given time and provide positions and course speed, etc., and the location of those ships to the naval system within system. But it was only fleet-centric, and it was not the entire navy and the nation in its entirety. But later on, when the 2611 happened, then Navy realized that we must be well prepared to have all kinds of threats taken control of. We did not know that terrorists were coming. And so Navy decided to build up radar chains, develop satellite, our own satellite system, heavily invested in ports infrastructure, etc. And today we are having many maritime domain awareness centers. In fact, the biggest center is
In
International
Gurgaon.
Fusion Center in Gurgaon, IFC IOR, which is having representation from 42 countries. And all officers are positioned there. It's a huge setup which has entire the Indian Ocean region being monitored second to second. We exactly know which ship is moving where, what is the cargo, what is the intention, next port of call, everything. So we have got our systems in
So we are
place.
investing a hell of a lot on MDA. MDA is
Well, we
being
have worked hell of a lot on MDA, sir. And
but
MDA is
but
also
the strike
served by.
capability is network centric operations can help strike capability further.
Yes, because network centric operations will provide you the positions of the targets or contacts which are there in the area, whether it is Bay of Bengal, IOR, or near Australia or South Africa. But it will provide you the input. So you have, if you have the capability of launching a weapon from whichever range you are capable of, and it's a precision strike, it can be done. The Navy is capable of undertaking very long range attacks right now. It is
Okay.
very well.
Now we take some of the questions. Somebody had asked some of the questions I have noted down earlier. You have already replied the difference between SSBN and uh, SSBN and say for that matter nuclear submarine and conventional submarine. What would be the difference between the two?
A nuclear submarine has the main power propulsion system is nuclear reactor, whereas a conventional submarine runs on batteries, diesels, or AIP propulsion, as I highlighted earlier, air independent propulsion system, which is a combination of certain cells which can give you power by a certain method, which technicality we will not go into. But a conventional submarine has to therefore surface to charge batteries, and when in dived condition it can propel on its batteries. When the batteries get discharged because of certain distance, certain speed, and certain consumption of power, when they are below a certain level, again it has to charge. To charge batteries, again it has to run diesels, and so it comes closer to the surface. So it is being exposed to satellites, to air platforms, to outside
So
world.
sustainability is the
Every
issue. Sustainability is
Yes.
the issue.
Whereas a nuclear submarine runs on nuclear power. A nuclear power does not require any air. We have oxygen tanks, we have oxygen generating systems. Nuclear power is non-stoppable. In fact, the amount of fuel which is there in Arighat will propel it for 30 years. It is only the human endurance which is limited, which makes the nuclear submarine also come back to port because of
In fact,
logistics, water.
this power pack of SSBN 83 megawatt PWR is, I think, is a game changer. It's a game changer because it can be used in our to generate power for our island territory also. So now there is a question by future DG that SOP for safety. There are a lot of ships which have there's a yeah. Ask sir, please comment little on safety SOP of Navy, since we have lost many docked vessels to fire of similar mishaps. How do these events happen? These, if it raises certain questions about the SOPs. So I mean, do we have a SOP on this kind of a thing?
We have very strong SOPs, very well made out SOPs. We are operating submarines for since 1967. So we are actually 57 years of operating submarines, and there is no navy in the world which does not have incidents. There is no air force station, or there is no air force in the world which does not have air accidents. It is like we do follow SOPs. Everyone is trained to follow SOPs. But definitely, if something has happened, perhaps it is an incident which could not have been avoided. But definitely, we all have SOPs for everything in every naval platform in our navy.
What some question is very interesting question. Somebody has asked, Sam Keating. This is Ritik Kothari. When we will have nuclear triad, we have already got now. I think with the Arighat, we have got nuclear triad. We have got a Jaguar which has got a which can carry BrahMos and all those things. So we have got all three. Triad, nuclear triad is complete. So that
Yes,
is.
nuclear triad is India is a nuclear triad country now, and with very potent
This question you
platforms.
have just replied. This is
Yes.
just operational. Otherwise, how has this been different from conventional boats, especially visit maintenance risks? We should invest more in SSBN or diesel. I think we have already answered this.
I think
Next
we have
question.
talked about this cost effectiveness. Of course, the SSBN is extremely costly. It
Extreme.
is
In
extremely
fact,
costly.
if I give you the figure, $31.6 billion India has earmarked for our new submarine program, which is a
Yes.
very huge amount. Sam Keating asked what has been said that we have already alluded to it. Next question, that aircraft carrier versus
Yes.
we have already addressed this. Next, what is the impact of China providing submarine to Pakistan? Yeah, Hangul class 8 submarines. 4 they are making and sending it by next year. They will be available, and 4 will be made in Pakistan itself. Today, I think they have got just 5 submarines, on which are all old. They don't have a capability. So, can you just address on this element?
Definitely, Pakistan getting submarines from China is a cause of worry because areas of operation are very close to India, and so we must be fully aware about their deployments, their development programs, and we must be able to counter them in our future naval strategies. Indian naval submarine arm is going to grow, and as I highlighted, that SSBN program will also grow. While Pakistan is focusing on the conventional boats, we are also focusing. We have 14 to 15 currently conventional boats available, and they are all in high states of readiness. In fact, all Scorpions are brand new, a few years old only. They have 30 to 40 years life.
It's
So we are
almost
very
16.
protected.
As I can see the figure, about 16, we have got the Scorpion and SDW class submarines. This is a very interesting question. Ask Russia has reportedly lost some 20 to 25 ships in Black Sea so far in current Russian-Ukraine war. What is your view on wartime performance of Russian Navy? Isn't this a humiliation of Russia? I think that's a different domain altogether. I think it's a drone warfare, which is Moscow has lost.
Russia has
Yes,
lost some of the warships, yes, in the port also. In port
yes.
mostly because they were hit by those missiles fired from Ukraine. And actually, the war is being steered by the Western forces rather than Ukraine himself. It is being steered and controlled, and data about the targets is coming from somewhere else in Europe. Definitely, I feel that Russian Navy is also a bit uh, you can say that they did not anticipate that the war will prolong for so long, and so many warships and submarines will be used. Perhaps underestimated the power of the European system and the European thrust which is behind Ukraine. Definitely, it's a big loss. They lost their biggest ship, the
Moscow.
yeah, Moscow, and they lost recently a submarine also, which was hit in the
Yes.
port.
And
That
which
is a
reflects poorly,
humiliation, I will say, because yes,
poorly on
it
their
is definite. It
reflects
cannot
poorly on
be ignored. Yes.
it cannot be ignored. There is a question. Uh, Comment on INS Brahmaputra incident. Why docked naval asset in Mumbai region met the fate. Mumbai was also where terrorists just came on boats from Karachi to carry 2611 attacks. That Moscow, that
See,
fire.
I'm not aware about what happened to INS Brahmaputra. I was not there, and I do not know. And we don't know who to talk. This is out of the purview of the lecture also.
Yes.
Definitely, as I said, that we had the network centric warfare as the question that you raised, that what was it and how we have bolstered it. I remarked in my lecture that after 2611, the Navy really took this maritime domain awareness requirement very seriously after 2611, definitely, because we never
In
had
fact,
that.
post 2611, this three-tiered, that is Marine Police, Coast Guard, and Navy. This is how they have strengthened the coastal defense and defense in the open seas. So there's a lot of work which has been done, but much more needs to be done, and there is no question that we must stop it. We should continue with this. Challenges and future prospects on maritime security of India. How INS Arighat is a game changer.
So
RP has
as I
asked.
said that yes, as I said, sir, that we have INS Arighat, which is having this missiles, four K4 missiles, which are approximately having a range of
3,000.
4,000 kilometers, 3,500 to 4,000 kilometers, and it is a moving bastion. It is available. It can be. As I said, it is going to reach Beijing and beyond. Sitting here. So earlier with what we could not achieve with 750 kilometers, that much of landmass area and the strategic cities of inimical countries or targeting countries could be taken by us while operating our SSBN at home. And so it is a big game changer, because before this, such capability of launching K4 missiles was not there in the region. Soon we will have Aridaman, which we may see with K5 missile, which is having a range of 6,000 kilometers,
6,000.
and then 6,000. So while from Sri Lanka we could launch at Beijing actually, or so sitting here. So
No,
Arighat is definitely a game changer and will have an impact on the maritime security of India, because as I said, the three stages which I highlighted,
yeah.
we are going to see a paradigm shift in the way that we are becoming a little more offensive in our thinking, to have better sea control, to avoid any kind of problems arising in our Indian Ocean region, and we have to take these steps positively. That's the way, because we have already declared we are NFU. I mean, no first use policy. So we must have the system to
most
have.
important thing is, I think, as they say, that taste of pudding lies in eating. The moment Arighat was commissioned, there was a very violent response from China. They said India shouldn't have been doing it, all this thing. Now, they have realized that the capability, because Arighat is not only what has been produced, it is given the possibility what it can be done, what Aridaman would be. So with that
Yes.
kind of a thing, it puts a caution, because it's a great nuclear deterrence. Now anyone misbehaving will not be possible all that easy.
Correct, but
Let's
that,
take one or two
as
perspectives.
sir also suggested, that we will have to have technological advancements continuously to match up with the requirements of the future. And as you also said, that Arighat is an improvement on the Arihant design, in hull design, in sonar technology, in missile launching system, in propulsion, in
Everything.
capabilities, in maneuverability, everything. So we are going to have future versions very technologically advanced, and for that, research and development is a big part.
Advanced.
What are the
And
best
good part
qualities of?
is that substantially it is indigenous. Substantially it is indigenous, so nobody can twist our arm tomorrow that as it is happening in aircraft G404, G414. So that kind of a thing, no power in the world will be able to do it. So that's a very major uh, advantage. What are the best qualities? Technological advancement. India will need to continue investing in research. Research and development. Are we? I think we are doing enough. I think now we are
As I,
doing
I
enough.
reply to that,
Uh,
I reply to that.
yes. Okay. Then the last question we take. Uh, we have developed all kinds of missiles, including Agni series. Why haven't we been able to develop torpedoes then? No, who says we have not developed torpedoes? We have developed torpedoes. Only indigenous one I know is Varunastra. Then two we buy then from USY. This is a question about torpedo.
Yes, torpedo technology we have developed many versions, and so I don't think there is a problem in this area. There is no problem. Absolutely, we are having versions of
There's
various
no problem.
torpedoes. We are
I
slowly
think
reducing
we
the
have.
our dependency, Navy dependency is slowly reducing from by importing torpedoes. Now we are slowly reducing it, of course.
Tell me now, can we have some of your say closing comments uh, on this security as well as RMA, which Arighat has brought? Very short, few lines, if you can say your closing comments, so that we
Yes.
can close there up.
Yes, so thank you, sir, for this choosing this topic. I think this topic is very relevant today because as we speak, our submarine is available for deployment, providing nuclear deterrence, being the third leg of the nuclear triad, and able to strike targets very far from us. Beijing and other major cities beyond, including the Middle East, is being covered. Now, question is that it does strengthen, and question is how do we apply this kind of posturing, and so the Navy will have to continuously delve into the new challenges of the future and shape its maritime security strategy further to become a very important and potent power, one of the top powers in the world. As I said, out of all the nations in the world, we are in the top six and producing SSBNs. We are the top, submarine manufacturing nations. We have been operating submarines for 57 years. So it's not a very small feat. It's a very big feat to be able to produce nuclear submarine, that to ballistic missile and indigenous ballistic missiles to take on, and so this will be a continuous process. I think the entire lecture of mine did focus on the maritime importance of India, the relevance of the region, what led to the formulation of the maritime security strategy, and how SSBN has been shaping or will further shape
Okay.
the maritime security. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, sir.
Thank you, Sumit. Before I close, I would like to tell audience few very interesting. Even US, are, Sumit said we are 1.25 lakh areas. So we are to
You are
provide
cutting off.
safety, security to all. Second, that US going into that Saint Martin issue, Bazaar issue. So Indian Ocean, we need India has to continue investing in Indian in maritime security, because kind of a thing in it is a so we cannot continue investing in Navy. No wonder the budget increased by 6.1, 6.7% of the a reality next. Say potency Navy's network thought of, which Sumit is in next issue, one of the will talk about forward, and we have to remain vigilant. Please like, subscribe, so that we can tell more and more about many issues which allude to. Thank you.